Okay, so yes, it was a few seconds, but still, it helped. Um, I don't know, I'm just kind of on a roll. I don't know. Anyways, so yes, Felix and Topanga Canyon. Those were some days. Eventually, Felix moved a little bit down from the mountain, but he still lived in Topanga, so we would rehearse there too. I remember one song, "Malignant Spirit." That was interesting. I think that was one of the first times that I started incorporating the guitar into the music. I don't know how. I just remember kind of like hearing the song and be like, okay, like plugging my way through the notes. It was again me like, okay, where do the notes that I'm able to play fit in? I didn't know it at the time, but I think if I think about it, it's like maybe even building melody, little melodies, or like little snippets, little licks, um, in between little crevices, or and if it was a synth, obviously maybe adding a little bit more atmosphere. But that's what it was. It was a lot of exploring within that atmospheric realm, musical realm, really. Let's see. So yes, we did not have a drummer for a while. Um, I remember there was someone named Richie. He used to play in a band named Earth. They were Jesse and Alex. Really great band. Very I'm not respect. Very Santana like, but amazing. But yeah, Richie, we were gonna play drums with him too. We actually got to rehearse a bit. Unfortunately, something happened with him during that time when we were gonna play our first show together, and so we didn't get a chance to play with him. But yeah, I think for a while it was very hard to find a drummer. I think a lot of bands might relate to that. But anyways, yeah, we went through a while trying to like find people. We played with someone called Henry for a while, and Henry, I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I hope you're doing well, man. I would just say I never, because eventually we played with him for a while too, but eventually that ended up, we ended up just not playing together anymore either. I accidentally had a drum pad of his, an electronic drum pad. I didn't even know that we weren't going to play anymore, and it was very far. I didn't drive, and I had it in my possession, and it was never my intent to keep it. Really, it wasn't. And Henry, if you're seeing this, like, I'm sorry. I didn't know how else to send it. But if you want, just reach out. I don't know. I could send you something to help you maybe get another one. I don't know. Just for that time. But anyways, but yeah, when we did hang out, it was a lot of fun too. We would play Halo, I think. But yeah, I think also, I think maybe that was one of the first times too where I really kind of got to see what it was like to play with other people just in general, because it's like, okay, like here's my core group of friends that I knew from high school, and then to expand that between I feel like Felix was pretty fresh, and but it's like to find that consistency with someone else, another member. It's like, oh, okay, like it that's an ordeal, I guess, that we had to go through, and it was very interesting. It was very hard, I think, to try and find people to fill that in. I don't know why, but eventually Esteban was playing with the group called Vidius. Rocco was one of the guitarists for the band. That was insane. They were really just psychedelic, but sci-fi. I don't know how to explain it, but they were very interesting too. Rocco played with Henry, a few other people, but he also played drums with someone called Bao. Bao, Bao, Bao is a really great friend. Um, he came from Spain to Hollywood, um, seeking fame and fortune. I don't know if that's what it was, but I remember I think him saying that just music, like that's what led him to the States. Like he wanted to explore that. He wanted to be in the thick of it. And he played drums. He played drums with Vidius. I guess somehow Rocco got in touch with him. They played. Esteban played with Rocco for a bit. That's how he got to know Bao. And eventually Esteban asked Bao, like, hey, like, I play music in a band, Esteban. I play music in another band called the Absynths. Got this psychedelic rock thing. Would you want to play with us, jam out? So yeah. And I remember Esteban was so excited when he told me, like, bro, like, I found someone, and it was Bao was just a very, very important and just element and just character, and he was just very important to the band and the building of it, because, and from my memory, like up until this time, Esteban was still in my mind, Esteban was just this amazing like musical genius. And when we got to know Bao had this understanding of music that I don't think anyone of us in the current band had at the moment. And with respect, I think when Esteban got to know Bao really helped solidify and bring certain structure and thought to the songwriting process that Esteban was really able to bounce off of. And I'm guessing that like he was able to put words to things that maybe he wasn't able to at the time before that. And aside from that, like Bao's energy when he would play the drums for me and the group, it was insane. It was intense. And when I see him, like when I see videos now, like I think there's a silentness within his character, but in my mind, there's a lot of thought. There's a lot of, and Bao, like, oh my god, there's so much I think working within his brain. And when he's playing the drums, from what I remember, it's very meticulous, but it's also very like organic too. He was like a machine, but he was a beast, and it was insane. And yeah, like he barely speak any English, but by the time he left, eventually he ended up leaving. Spoiler, but man, his English just grew so much, and he actually had a music rehearsal studio in Hollywood, by Vine, from what I remember, a few blocks from Amoeba in Hollywood. It was small. It was a black room. We barely had enough space. We barely had enough space to even like fit all of our equipment. We eventually started sharing a room with him, because I think even after the first time, it was Esteban, myself, and Felix and Bao, and this is the first time that we even started rehearsing somewhere else outside of like someone's home. Yeah, it was very crazy to kind of dive and take another step into that kind of world, because like, oh, like here's, I would even say like more responsibility. Here's something else that we are not accustomed to, and it was just like a brand new step, aside from musically, but also personally. And I think that's also a very solid stepping stone, or a transitional point where and say what we will, I think, within the band, anybody that was in it, but I think that was a very like strong, like, oh, like this is very serious, like we want to take this a little bit more seriously. And so yeah, like how do we take it more professionally? We had we worked with people to take photos. Thank you for everyone who's done that. we started thinking about like, okay, like how do we reach out to like venues or bands? And Esteban did a lot of it at first. Where do we go? Like, who do we connect with? Musically, how do they structure it? It was just a lot of building. Again, not just musically, but like even culturally within the band. And so that was just a really great like element that was brought into it. I kept emphasizing that, but I think really, because with all respect, like it was just a big impact. And yeah, we played some shows and just got to grow from that. Eventually, the space in Hollywood was way too small. We kept getting a smaller room, and we got more stuff in there. So eventually, somehow we ended up like, hey, like everybody was like, we should probably find a different space. So that's just better and more convenient for everybody. Maybe not more convenient as it didn't turn out to be for everybody, but just somewhere else where we can create at least bigger. I remember just looking up spaces online, and I came across this place called Royal Rehearsal, another very important element to the group. Max was someone who helped run it. Really cool guy. Really just solid, just great guy. But yeah, I remember he gave us a tour of the place. I remember when the band first got there, they were making jokes. I was like, dude, where is this? It was by Grand in LA, by USC, I think, yeah. But it was kind of hidden. It was not a back alley, but it's like, it wasn't a conventional street. But I remember everybody in the band being like, bro, are we gonna get jumped here? Are we gonna get shot? Like, bro, relax. But yeah, it didn't look that sketchy. We were in the middle of the day, but we were kind of like, we don't know about this place. But eventually Max came, I think in shorts and like flip-flops. Very casual. And now that I think about that, because it's like, oh, eventually role rehearsal ended up growing. And now that I think about it, like years later, it's like, oh, like when I would see Max, he'd be a little bit more formal. I'd still see him in flip-flops from time to time. But anyways, he gave us a tour of the place, and they had a few good rooms. Very respectfully, it wasn't like professional. Not everything was soundproof, but there was some nice, for what it was really, really great. And eventually they showed us this room. So I think the priciest one in there. It had a skylight. It was big. I think from my memory, it was like two of the sides of the wall were black, like kind of like, I guess it was supposed to be soundproof padding, but it was like the walls were painted like a light blue from what I remember. But the way that the light would hit and go into the room, beautiful. And yeah, eventually I didn't think we were even gonna get it. I myself didn't think I could even help pitch in too much, but everybody in the band wanted to do it, and yeah, we went for it. We went for this room. I think it was room 7 in Royal Rehearsal, building number 2 on Grant. I don't know if it's there anymore, but we ended up moving there from Hollywood. It was a little bit far for Felix because again, like he was from Topanga. And yeah, I'm sorry, Felix. I know that was a toll too. I'm not putting anything in front or denying anything. I think Esteban did put a lot of, well, when we would drive to Felix's too, it was a lot of like driving as well. And I'm not bringing this up to throw shade or anything. It's just realizing like there's just so many lessons that I learned from being in a band. And I don't know if that was avoidable or not. Maybe we could have found another space, but it's so hard to try and like be accommodating for everybody in a band. I remember someone once mentioned to me, being in a band is like having 4 relationships at the same time, and it can't. I mean, if you have more members, it's more than that, but it's it's a lot of work, and it was something that I don't think I was even aware of until like with time that passed by. It's like, man, I feel you. But when you told me when the individual told me that, by that time I was like, yeah, I see that. But it's insane just how much time and commitment goes into nurturing a group like that. There's a lot of work that goes into a group because it's not just the music. Although I gotta say real quickly, I think whenever we would find ourselves working with people and the music would just click, there's this chemistry that is just like, I play music by myself right now, but when you play with other people and you don't expect to hear what other people play when you come up with a song, let's just say, and you start adding this element, it's like, oh, how about someone adds drums? How about when this person adds bass? It's like, oh, that might change the direction of the song. It's magical. It's just very interesting to see how everything kind of like flows within each other, and yeah, when that happens, that's one of the most beautiful things about being in a band, I would say. I'm kind of like going all over the place, but anyways, yes. So we moved into row rehearsal. We got to play some more shows. Eventually, I had the idea of throwing some shows at royal rehearsal. By that time, we've been there for a while. I had the good fortune to do some murals with some friends at royal rehearsal as well. By talking with Max, asking him, and eventually we asked him like, hey, would it be cool to throw some shows? And yeah, he was very. They allowed us to do it. I thank you. And I think because on the side of that, aside from me playing music with the band, I also did a lot of live art. I did a lot of live drawing at different events. And during that time, I think that's where I really got into a lot of like, I really got to see art and community in a different light. Quickly, Southgate, backstory, and I grew up having a lot of places that I felt I could express myself or explore creativity. By being in a band and doing art shows with other people on the side, I really got to see these pop-up groups and cliques and yeah, just communities just grow. And it was amazing to see. I don't want to just say LA, but like, because even the surrounding areas, we would play in different places, Pasadena, Long Beach, Ojai, but to see different groups of people from different backgrounds get together with this common love for music and create like friendships, create like community with each other. It's like, oh, like they invite other friends to a show. They start building a following. Like, it was so amazing to see that. For me to see that, like outside of being in a band, to see that develop in different places. Places would open and close because of these very DIY spots, some very sketchy spots. But it was very beautiful, and I think that really inspired me to want to do something like that with the band and the studio. So yeah, eventually we started inviting other friends to actually. This is a flyer. You can't see, but over here, and that was one of the shows that we helped organize at the place. Yeah, it was. I'm just remembering right now how that was also very, I think, very important. Yeah, I would say like first step into just something new, into like, oh, like finding my place within. I don't know if it's finding my place, but finding a place within music and within culture. Whether however big or small it was, just like within the group. And yeah, it was the start of something very, very new and fresh. I'm gonna take another little break.